Hey everyone, Jeb again. Today we're going to be talking about workplace behavior. Now, there's a lot that goes into workplace behavior, and so I'm only going to cover the basics of it for you to give you a good idea of what's going to be expected of you when you actually get that first job of yours. The first thing that you really need to understand is what good work behavior is like. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that. How you interact with the customers, that's a huge part of it. The other part that goes into it is actually how you interact with your coworkers, everybody else on the job with you. Now, when it comes to customers, a lot of businesses subscribe to the ideal that the customer is always right. No, they're not. The general public does a lot of things that are very weird and strange. But the reality of it is that you work for a business, and that business wants to make money. So they want that customer to come back again and again and again. So the idea you got to keep in mind is they may be yelling at you, they may be angry at you, but you've got to search for whatever solution you can find to make that person happy so that they'll come back again, whether they're right or not. When you're dealing with your coworkers, a lot of things can happen. There's a lot of traps that you can fall into when you work. A lot of times when we work in a place with the same people, we develop cliques within the business. You want to try and avoid being in any clique when it comes to being in a business. You want to come to work, be professional, be friendly with your coworkers, but not try to pit yourself against any other coworker that you have or a boss or think that you're in charge of the place. The reality is that every workplace has its own structure, and you've got to stay quiet for a little while you find out what that structure is. And then you need to learn to operate within the structure. Now, also with workplace behavior comes the dress code. So you may be working at McDonald's and they may want you to wear a polo shirt and slacks. And that might not be your style. The reality of it is that probably wasn't the right job for you in the first place if you don't want to do that. You should follow what everybody else is doing. There's a certain decorum that's asked from you when you started a job, and you should follow that at all times to make sure that you keep everybody at work happy. Now, what are the other things you got to do to be a good worker and a valued worker? You always need to be looking to learn. People don't bring you on at a job, even if they don't expect you to be there the rest of your life, unless you really want to learn and get better. Now, even a little job like my first job was cleaning all the departments at Safeway. You've got to want to try and learn. You've got to want to try and get better at cleaning all the departments at Safeway. You have to try and learn to be the best bagger that you possibly can. You have to be the best crew member that you possibly can at McDonald's. And always try to ask and learn new tasks that you can do. That's what makes you a good worker. Constantly asking questions and learning from the questions that you ask. That's one thing that we're going to stress a lot when we work with you in your work experience is making sure that you're not just going through the motions, but you're trying to understand why things are done and you're trying to improve yourself as you do those things. The other part of work experience that most people don't think of is we live in a world of social media all around us at all times. And if you think that just your friends can find what you post on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it may be, your employer can find that too. Invariably, you're not going to think about it. You're going to become friends with one of your coworkers on any of the social media platforms that are out there. And they're going to see things that you post, and they're probably going to tell your boss about it. So it's something you have to think about as you go to post things on social media. Other things that might affect you away from work are some of the choices that you make. Now, you're in this program because you got in trouble at some point and are now dealing with juvenile probation. You don't want to do that again. You don't want to put yourself in that position again because of how your employer might look at it. There are employers in the world that will be very forgiving of you and give you second chances, but those second chances don't go very long. So what's more important to you? Having a steady income, learning to be a better worker, try and work your way up and have a good job and live the life that you want to, or making the poor decisions that you may have made in the past. We hope that it's having that job, leading a life that you couldn't have led before, and that you'll be able to have friends that understand that you can't go do the things that you used to do because you now have this job to go to. So what happens when this job isn't enough? What do? It's time to resign. Is it okay to just turn around, walk out the door, and never come back? The reality is no. Especially if you're living in a small town and you've got a job there in that small town, word gets around. People ask. You're going to apply at other places, and when you apply at those other places, they're going to have you list the other jobs that you've had. And a lot of times they're going to contact the other jobs that you have to see how things went. Now, you may have had a bad experience at a previous job, and you can talk your way out of that, but it's very hard to talk your way out if you just turned and walked out the door and never came back. We're going to work with you on what a good resignation letter looks like. And as strange as it may seem for a first job, it's very important to set the tone and show that you're a professional by turning in that resignation letter. This is one of the other things we're going to work with you on in the future as to what it's like to actually be in a work experience. You may be doing a virtual work experience. You may be doing a work experience with us. And we'll continue to kind of press some of these points. Our biggest one is always going to be ask questions. We want you to always grow and learn as an employee, as a worker, as a person. And you don't do that unless you ask questions and try and learn from